All right, great. And I know Beth is coming, so we'll catch her up. We've got so much is happening. I want to make the first part of this fairly quick so we can make sure we take time for Terrence. And then there are other things which we may just do next time. They're not time specific. So let's first do the minutes of September 25th. A motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so the codfish that we're all excited about, we want to start. Well, we'll wait till we have some just stuff to go through first, Terrence. But we thought Ernie has passed out the events for tomorrow, the kind of order of events, and Ernie and Ellen, I know you've been working on it. I don't know if you want to just tell people a little bit about what's going to happen. We hope people can come.
Yeah, so I've had a good response from Park as far as we've got I think 6 Park members so far who have said they're coming, which is great. We've got 52 yeses, and then we're expecting some extras. And I just want to say it's really nice that Terrence happens to be here tonight. Because of course he's the artist and it's just spectacular. And we have I wanted to mention that we have a lot of donors, people that contributed to the endeavor coming. And I just wanted to mention that, if there are people, if you can thank them for supporting public art in the city. And, Bob Thorson, of course, Chris Dwyer, thank you, Chris. Dana and Shala Levinson are supposed to be there.
Oh, good.
Lisa Bottomley from the Fuller Foundation, they gave $8,500 to the Endeavor Project. I haven't met her. She was also really helpful when I was writing the grant. She gave me a lot of information. So just keep that in mind and, thank people. I don't know if more will show up, but that's who we have for now. We have 4 city councilors who have responded
Great.
yes. And city staff. So we have a good group coming. Yeah, Chris passed out the program. Terrence is going to be speaking about the inspiration and the whole process. And you'll be able to turn on the lights, right? Or will that?
I also have a poem based on the book site. And I know how to cover the photosensitive whole photo sensor to put the lights on, but so they'll be illuminated from the top down, but they won't cast any shadows in the bright light.
But the blue streaks on their backs.
Blue streaks on the back should be there.
And we'll remind people to check it out at
Yeah.
night, with the lighting on the Endeavor, because I will be mentioning, the donors haven't seen the plaque, that we have, the stainless steel plaque that has all the descriptions that Ellen did and the
Yeah.
donor thank yous. So I am going to mention that in the beginning, and just invite them to look at that. And I'm also going to mention the permanent lighting, which really, it looks real. I haven't seen it lit up, but
Great.
I like the way they did it, with the stones in the, we have a framed, really cool, Karina, piece of art to give the city, that they can hang, that represents, and then the mayor will be speaking and then Chris will be representing Park
Right.
and talking about,
Hopefully making a pitch to the donors who are there for additional sponsorships for us to continue working on that park. And we're just telling people a little bit about, what we're doing.
Yeah, so, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Well, turn your page over for the surprise I got yesterday when I looked at this.
I don't have anything on the other side.
Oh, you don't have this one. That's the minute. those
None
are
of
the
these two.
Agenda, yeah.
Oh, see, this
That's
is this.
Oh, I don't
extra
have
one.
that.
Oh, okay,
Sure.
thanks.
Because, unbeknownst to us, with money left over from the 400, they're setting up an education and public art trust, almost $100,000, which will be funding for education of young people about their heritage through the creation of public art. And we'll have the authority to implement with a lot of bureaucratic input from lots of other people. But it's an interesting thing coming at an interesting time. I did, I'd hoped that we wouldn't have two trusts, that we would have one trust, but I asked, when I learned about this the other day, I happened to see Suzanne Woodland, and she said it's because of what I would call a narrow interpretation of what our current public art trust allows, because this was set up for education in the title. And our trust is public art trust. They felt that it couldn't be the same. That's fine. So it's two trusts set up, but obviously the funds are invested similarly.
This does come at an interesting time where we just had the principal of the middle school come and talk to us about he wants to educate in his art
Absolutely, it's true.
in his community, in the middle school.
It's
So
coming at an interesting time for that. And also, and we'll talk about it at our next meeting, very successful meeting with the LGBTQ group. And of course, what we would do with that would also have an education component to it. So,
And I was just gonna say, Valerie asked me if I would serve on that trust fund, but or trust committee, whatever, which I said I'm happy to do, but I don't know in what capacity, if that's because of I was involved
I
with
think-
PNH 400 or Park or what.
I'm sure we'll all learn a lot more about the trust and the trust documents, and then we can clarify some of those things. So,
And
Um,
Valerie will be announcing it and speaking about it
Yeah.
on tomorrow.
yeah, but I wanted everybody to know about that ahead of time because it was a surprise.
Wow.
Is the four hundred
was.
kind of sunsetting at this point? Because they've had a bunch
That's
of
right.
little, activities and
That's right.
events.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Portsmouth Maritime Folk Festival musicians. They've been so great about this. And it just adds kind of a festive.
Yeah.
um,
That'll be nice.
They've got a piece they're gonna play at the end about it's kind of a statement about commercial fishing and how it's hurt the small fishermen, and it's a little bit pressing, but
Does anybody know if the bolsters are coming?
they can't.
Oh,
They can't. They're away in Colorado.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
doing them,
yeah.
so.
But they were certainly invited and will be a big,
They're visiting their grandkids.
Yeah.
yeah. So, great. And we'll hopefully see most of you tomorrow.
Jeff Bolster and Molly Bolster.
We also tried to get someone from the Fishermen's Co-op there, but no one was available, because we thought it celebrates
Yeah.
cod fishing.
Right. Okay,
Should say, please share my regrets with everyone that I have to be out of town the next few days, so I can't be there tomorrow, but I'll be
Miss
thinking about
you.
all of you.
I'll just go through these other announcements quickly, and a couple whose names are there if you want to say do, but I don't want us to delay too long. The ordinance was approved, second and third reading, so the combined ordinance is all set, which is great. So with the big things for us, I think, being raising the cap to 30 million, which will double the amount of money that we potentially get on projects, and also making it clear that it's for capital construction, not only buildings.
I'm sorry, Chris, could you repeat the first half of that? Raising what to 30 million?
There's currently a cap on the base. The amount of money is 15 million. So if a building cost 80 million, we would only get a percent of 15 million. We've raised that to 30 million, so we would get a percent of 30 million.
Thank you. I just couldn't hear it. Thank you.
Contract for the Jabari sculpture in
Is in the Dabari hands.
Jabari hands. We had a good Zoom with them. We, I think, worked out everything, so they're ready to go.
DPW's happy.
I can't say that right now.
If happy's too strong a word.
They were not part of this, we're still working through a signed contract.
This was a legal
Yeah,
thing.
this was. the legal
Okay.
thing, Chris and I.
The garage money, Sean, you applied for our garage money and that is how much?
68,000 and change.
68,000 Hanover Garage. So that'll be coming to the trust. And then you already heard me mention the LGBTQ. Nancy and Alyssa will talk about that at our next meeting. Lots of great ideas, I thought, coming out of that meeting. Middle school, they are working on it. They're very excited about it. They are educating the rest of their committee members. We found, believe it or not, in 2013, they did do an RFP at that time in
Right.
advance of having the money.
I think Nancy and I were part of that, right?
We
Oh, they were sitting in the Art Speak office.
Right, for
We-
years.
We located the RFP, so we have that, and we located the list of artists
Wow.
through procurement who bid on it. That doesn't mean that they would necessarily, certainly we'd want to go back out to those artists if they're doing a commission, but the original RFP had good ideas for themes and it had good ideas for where art might go in the middle school. And so they'll be taking all that into account. And they may also come to us at our next meeting to chat. I hope you all saw the announcement about the October 30 webinar from the National Endowment. I'm hoping that someone might be able to attend that. I can't because those are 3 funding sources that would possibly be possible funding sources for the work that we do. And they're introducing community art and design funding sources. So,
I can do that.
okay, great, Nancy.
You want, is it just one person that needs
Oh.
to be there or?
Anybody can listen. I mean, I think it'll be inspiring, but at least one person to kind of bring that back.
What time is that on the 30th? And do you know?
I can't remember,
Sean
but
said.
Sean will look it up.
Sean knows everything.
And then just one more thing, and then
3 PM.
Thank you.
I'll let this kind of sink into you, and then if we want to talk about it more after Terrence's presentation, we can. I've been attending meetings of the African Burying Ground Stewardship Committee, and that committee is really much more about cemeteries than it is about art, and that became very clear to me as I listened to, their thoughts for maintenance, as well as what they want to do. They really want to morph more into being a committee about burial sites that might be of both Indigenous people as well as African Americans who are buried in our other cemeteries and haven't been recognized. The Langdon Cemetery, on Route 1. And there really isn't anybody on that committee who is an art interest. So Joe Kelly, who is the chairman of that committee, and I have been talking about this, and we talked to the Burying Ground Committee about it earlier this week, and it said it would bring it to you that because of the public art elements, it may be that those public art elements should be things that we take on within our jurisdiction. Right now there is a plan to do some refurbishment there. They have 27,000 in their trust. That money will go for this current refurbishment, but on an ongoing basis, it seemed like it made more sense for us to be tending to the art elements there, and to be connecting to the artist, and they deal with the, DNA testing and the descendant community and other aspects. So, nothing to vote on, but to think about and to think about what questions we should be, if we were to do that, what might come up and what we should be considering.
And you'll,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you'll just continue to be a representative from this group
Um,
to that group?
maybe, we haven't formalized
Okay.
anything like that, but that would be an example of something we should, and it's a good example, something we should consider and then decide, do we want to have a representative and who should it be, that kind of thing.
My question was just, what would be the mechanism for extricating oversight and maintenance of the art from the committee, like? how does
I
that
think,
work?
right now, they are working on a new charge for their committee. That would, they're a blue ribbon committee.
I
That
see.
would go to the council to kind of reformulate what is their committee, what's the charge of their committee. And within that, I think it would speak to what our part would be.
And Chris, are you thinking there's an art element for the other projects they're going to be?
Well, there could be.
Okay.
There's also maintenance of the artwork that's there. I mean, at some
Well,
point.
that's a big, that's a
need
biggie.
maintenance.
That's a biggie. It needs it
Yeah.
now.
Yes,
Biggie.
Yep.
I know they're very concerned about that.
And there are other things, for example, if you remember, there used to be Sankofa signs on the houses that explained the history. And I think one is left and they're not there, but if there were new art elements to be done that would do some of that, that would be something we would do. We obviously can work in conjunction with them, but it started to make me a little nervous when they were saying, well, we don't really need to contact the artist, or you know what I mean, things like that. So I want to make sure that we're paying attention to the art aspects of it. Yes.
Well, if there's a possibility moving forward, I wouldn't mind being a liaison because I do a lot of tours at the
Right, you're so
burying ground
familiar
and
with
we're
it.
kind of
Yes.
connected to them. So
That would be great, Robin. Okay. Terrence, you're on. And I think it would be helpful if you tell us first,
Want to be unclear?
wherever is best for you to see. You probably want to see the screen while you're,
Always down to screen.
yeah, have a microphone.
Please.
And what would be good if you would start by telling us what you want from tonight do you want a discussion, a back and forth, a brainstorming ideas, or do you want us to be writing like we did before, our recommendations to HDC? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, so I'm here with Marie Bodie, who works with Big Nab Properties.
Marie, do you want to come?
Yeah, please, Marie.
Terrence, am I pulling up emails you sent me to?
I would pull up the site photos first. So, yeah, I think we're looking for the recommendation of approval tonight. So
This be it?
I would start with the second photo. So as you know, I'm a site guy, a landscape architect, real site guy. So when I have a client, the client wants me to do something like Mark McNabb asked me to create some sculptures for particular areas of the Newberry building, which he bought, which is attached to the 1 Congress Street, which is behind Rudy's, that parking lot that's going to be renovated. And as you know, that alleyway is being renovated as part of the original 1 Congress, but since Mark had bought, please correct me if I wander, but Mark has bought the Newberry building and he plans to bring that down to grade. So that's a 14-foot slope that goes up to a high point, and it goes back down to the corner of Ladd and High Street, which is, if you permit me to throw some numbers around it, the elevation at Ladd and High Street is approximately 26.5. The elevation right there at that barrier at Fleet Street is 19. So there's positive pitch. It's hard to believe, but there's positive pitch from parking garage entrance to Fleet Street. So Mark's proposal is to remove all of that grade and expose this wall that faces Gillies to retail, outlets on the walkway up. And there's, if you would, Sean, go to the next picture. Yeah, right there. This is a early drawing by, Tracy Kozak of Arcove. And so that, you can see there's gonna be a small wall there and there's bay windows.
Okay,
And this has gone through successfully gone through the HDC workshop.
Yeah.
And it's going to planning.
So no, we are, two corrections. First of
Oh,
all,
great.
we have not purchased the building yet. It's under purchase and sale agreement with a stated close of any time after the first of the year with 60 days notice from the seller to us. And then, it's not retail, you just said retail outlets. It's going to be retail, not
On the ground,
outlets.
did I say outlets?
Yeah,
On the ground
So
floor.
just correcting that.
Sorry about that.
And we are presenting at the HDC public hearing on Wednesday, the day after election. So I think that's November 6th.
6.
And we are going to be in a public hearing, so seeking approval to proceed at that point, then on to the TAC and planning board. So we are in the
Okay.
approval aggressive stage.
Right.
Approximately how wide is that alleyway there? That, I mean, it's,
It's 9 feet, 8 inches to the top of the wall. And then the wall slopes, batters down to Gilly, so there may be a little more.
okay,
But basically, it's a functioning 9/8.
okay,
Yeah, so there's a guardrail, there's a little wall there. There used to be a giant wall. Now there's a guardrail that will have the same serpentine pattern. So there's a serpentine walkway, a pattern in the walkway that goes from Fleet Street over to the corner, the intersection of High and Lad, that is basically me stretching the concept of a labyrinth that was developed by the Greeks into a mindfulness exercise of your footwork.
as you go up the alley,
Well,
or
yeah,
through the,
from
what we now call the alley,
right,
right? Yeah,
this is now renamed Newbury Way,
yeah,
and it's gonna have sitting stones, much like Chestnut Street. It'll have catenary lights that aren't in this image. So that between the buildings, and potentially there's a connection to the parking garage that still has to work out with the city. So it's gonna be a really active extension of what's really started at Commercial Alley, goes across to Ladd Street, comes through Newbury Way, and hopefully eventually, you know, goes under the building where the green room is over to the Worth
Yeah.
parking lot.
so,
I mean, that's Nick Cracknell's vision that
Yeah.
somehow, because there is an alley across the street.
He's
from-
not even there anymore. Nick's not even there around.
but
Oh, I
that
know
was
that.
his, but so I want to make sure we have a chance to pause and ask questions because the sighting, understanding the site is really important. So it's like we're standing right now on Fleet Street and Gillies is to
Gillies
our
is to
left.
the immediate left, right?
So is that, people feel oriented
So this is the before picture.
before?
That's the before.
Gillies to the left.
There's, you can see Gillies.
Right.
So that wall comes down from a 14-foot wall at its highest point to maybe, you know, 24, 30 inches, maybe 18 inches. We're still working that out.
So there's the after.
So it's a little knee wall, and there will be a guardrail with a serpentine handrail on it. To keep people from falling and to further emphasize the serpentine pattern that's in the pavement. And there'll be trees in that alley. There'll be a transformer that the Eversource needs. The dumpsters will be community dumpsters located probably in the other the Ladd Street entrance to the parking garage where there's a huge storage area.
Mark?
So I always wondered and never understood how there was that differential between the heights of standing down at the bottom and the top part. I mean, is that human made or?
That's a good question. There's probably bedrock in there somewhere, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably rock.
Right.
yeah.
Is it filled? Was it filled when,
I don't know.
we don't know what it is?
I don't know what it is at the moment. I don't know if we've done any
Okay.
test borings on
I
that.
think we have, and I think we're expecting it to be ledge and
Yeah.
Okay,
But so on the parking lot behind Rudy's where the Congress Street building is going, this major excavation there. anyway, for the subterranean parking garage to serve those housing units. So this is mostly housing, even though
Housing.
there's retail on the
Oh,
first floor.
Okay.
So getting to the concept of this is, Mark likes concepts and he wants to see what ideas you have. So the concept I came up with was to blend the sculpture in with the concept of housing. And so that's how I got the clasp. You want to, I'll go to, no, do you have
I have another email from you. Yes.
the,
Want me to?
yeah, so I want to show you the email of the, no,
Let me,
the earlier one.
Yeah.
So the clasped hands is a sculpture that's going to be 25.5 feet long. It's going to be vertically mounted on that wall that faces Gillies.
oh, yeah.
And
Sorry.
that little hand sketch is the side elevation. So you have the clasp hands going up the wall like that, and then there's a side elevation of what it looks like. And
There
that's
it
what that.
is. Right there.
Here? No. No, it's the same one. There was,
Made out of, Terrence?
Well, right now it's gonna be, it's proposed to be, solid bronze. So this is Sean, this is the image I'm looking for.
Yeah.
okay.
So-
I have it.
It's a series of clasp pans. There's 4 clasp pans and one at the bottom and one at the top. So to me, conceptually, it's about, and I wrote this down, it's, cooperation, shared living, shared experience, community, togetherness. So, in this super divisive world we have, Mark's trying to create a housing complex that people share the living spaces. And so this sculpture pulls Mark's concept and puts it into a form that is more relatable, from the outside of clasp hands helping each other. So right now it's scheduled to be completely bronze, which will go through a whole process. So I don't know if you know the Sanctuary Arts and the Green Foundry
Mhm.
Group over in Elliott. So I work with them kind of regularly. So they have some amazing anatomically gifted sculptors over there. So they would do a maquette that would be blown up to a larger,
I think,
no,
Got it in my inbox.
clay hand.
either from Terrence.
And then that clay hand will go through
You said it
the
was
molding
like that.
process, the rubber
That's
molds, the waxes, the rubber, the ceramic molds, and then sectional bronze pieces that would be assembled and mounted to the building on site. So there's going to be structural engineering people involved in that, but I'm not prepared to address right now how it's mounted. But that's the vision Mark wants to pursue,
And what the height, at what, height will it be? Not
Well-
off the ground?
Yeah.
So
so
people will
Sean,
be able to reach.
Sean, you
5
forwarded this
feet
to the
11.
committee,
Oh,
Right.
so
No,
it should be in your.
5'11" is the lowest.
For
one.
me.
5'11".
So you'll be able to touch there's some hands and fingers. You'll be able to touch that, really?
you'll be able to touch it.
Yeah, 5 feet, right?
You, Lori.
Get on my back.
Ladder.
No. I probably can.
Yeah, so, you don't want to get
Not a
it so low
short
that people are going to be tempted to climb it, but you want people to be able to touch it. So there's a hand going down and then there's a finish hand going up, and that's about 4 feet off of the
Yeah.
horns.
Total of 2 hands.
No, I think there's 4 pairs of hands. So you could have the different patina on that, so you can get the, different color skins. So you can patina bronze in a lot of different ways. So I expect that we'll go through that patina process.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not
Is
coming
that-
up with it.
Yeah, so the likeliness is that
See if I have it on my phone to send you.
we'll probably have lights that we haven't determined yet, but they'll probably, so if you can imagine that it's kind of goes around 270 degrees, so it's not a full arm. So if this is the wall, so it sits like that above the wall, so you could have lights in there to cast light out. So it'll be silhouetted at night, and it's a super visual spot, if you turn the corner from
So it was
Sean,
October
I just sent it.
21st. I have
Hanover
it,
to
or,
Hanover
Can you
to
just
Fleet
forward
Street.
it?
It's
yeah.
it's right there.
I was just gonna look that up too.
Okay.
Make sure we get it up. I just sent it.
Sent?
Kate just sent it to Sean.
Yeah,
What are the dimensions?
So it's roughly 25.5 feet tall,
Wow.
and it's probably 3.5 to 4 feet wide, so.
Wow.
I know, it's huge,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lot
Big,
of bronze.
but that's a huge wall.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that we haven't gone through the structural engineering aspect, but we're trying to make it lifelike. So it won't have like, it won't have skin that has pores. It'll probably have the knuckle folds and, the finger folds and the clasp. And so it'd be pretty, very lifelike, but not like pores of the skin. So there's a sculptor named Anthony Alamany that I've worked with that he can make bronze look, he makes, when he does bronze portraits, it looks like the eyes are smiling. He's that good. So he's probably the guy that would do that. So that's what it may look like. The side view, it's my sketch for the side view. So this is the sketch of this is the image of the front view, looking at it and that's the side view. So if you're walking down the alley, you would see something like that. But that should be a turn, but it isn't.
I'm a little confused about that. Would you say that again? So that's, if I'm on Fleet Street, I'm looking at it straight on.
If you're looking at this,
Right. And if I'm looking at the side, I still see the curved and I still see hands because it's
oh yeah, you
rounded.
see, that's what my perspective of what it would look like from the side. You'd still see the fingers wrapping around, but it would be hollow underneath and there'd be lights. And I didn't draw the mounting apparatus there, but that would be the face of the wall. And so you basically, if from Nancy's point of view, you're looking at a hand like that.
Right. Coming like what, 10
Coming-
inches, 10 inches off the wall or?
Well, the bottom, well, that's to be determined, but it would be, yeah, 12 inches off the wall would be the lowest part, so so those kind of details haven't been completely fleshed out, but I expect it'll be pretty close to the wall. So you have the lights and you have the shadows,
Mhm.
but it's not, it doesn't roll down and seal the wall off, because we want light to escape from the interior to the exterior, so it creates a silhouette.
The concept really reminds me of a sculpture by Barbara Hepworth on the John Lewis building in Oxford, on Oxford Street in London, called Winged Figure. I mean, it's mounted in such it's a vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a look.
Have you seen that in person, Mara?
What, that sculpture?
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah, and your thoughts about it?
Well, I think it's, I think it's a great idea.
so-
It's not lit up though.
But it isn't lit up. But, of course, this was done in 1963 before people were quite as.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Very
I mean, and
striking though,
it's
'cause you don't
definitely an
expect it.
It's definitely an abstraction, and it always amazes me that it's still there because, London, everything changes and everything changes in the world.
Well, bronze is kind of forever.
But it is
Yeah.
kind of forever, and
Oh.
it's such a great activation of that space. Because it's on a side, you see the building fronts on Oxford Street, a very different kind of space, but you see the side thing kind of like activating this blank wall, very exciting.
Yeah, I expect that this will really animate that space, and it actually, not that it was intended, but it actually points to the start of the Newbury Way.
Mhm.
That wasn't the intention, is to like, oh yeah, here we are.
Mhm.
I mean,
You
now
are
that I
here.
look at it, it's like, it does do that, but that was not the intention at all. It was the intention was strictly to, make the housing project that McNabb Properties are proposing, to bring that forward into a piece of sculpture so people could see that and say, well, okay, that's what's going on the inside. So it brings the function of the inside to the exterior is the intention.
I also think that it brings the theme of hands to Portsmouth because we already have a hand sculpture at the temple.
Oh, we do,
That's
yeah.
a- that's
Oh,
a good
yeah,
point.
it's a beautiful sculpture.
Yeah.
And so it kind of continues that theme.
Interesting point.
Good point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm the,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the last person to want things to be more real, more explicit rather than abstract, but I'm wondering about, well, first of all, I'm wondering to hear you talk about your choice to be more realistic than abstract, and then whether people will get the co-working well, I think it's a good concept, but whether there's something that would help people get that concept more strongly from.
Well, I don't think this is real in that it's hands, but it's unreal in the combination of hands. You don't have that many hands holding. So that's the real abstract part. And so there's the abstract aspect of the number of hands and how they're holding and the proximity of hands and the color of the patina that we could exercise on the hands. I mean, so that to me, that's the abstract part. And I think, I think not hitting somebody over the face with the concept of co-living, it's not even co-living because there's no ordinance for co-living.
Right.
It's right now, it's micro.
Actually, at this present time, it's apartments that are multi-bedrooms.
Right.
We are pursuing through the city, we have a planning work session tomorrow evening for the co-living concept and the zoning changes that we're recommending. But at this point, we are proceeding with whatever is permitted by zoning, and that would be a myriad of mostly 3-bedroom units with traditional kitchen, living room, dining room.
So roommates can do roommate kind of living.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Families, roommates.
So I think once people realize that's housing, I think there's that kind of slow clicking in of like, oh yeah, go up where the hands are, and then because
Sean,
right now it's just titled.
Jen said she's
Fast.
only seeing your Outlook, but it looks like you're sharing.
A title could really help
Somehow that happens.
bring
Oh,
that
okay.
This- I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's.
Put your creative thinking cap on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Community.
Oh, you need that now?
No,
No, no, no,
So,
no, no.
but I'm just
But
saying that.
yeah, that's kind of a work, it's a kind of a work, it's kind of an in-house title that's just like.
Yeah.
And I presume the hands would be, how should I put this? Like different shapes and sizes, and some might be, hands that look like gnarly old.
Yeah, so that's.
Feminine hands, masculine hands.
Right, that's the intent, is to have a
big
variety of
knuckles,
hands there.
Long
So
fingers.
it's
whatever.
intergenerational, it's interracial.
Right.
It's interactive. Exactly. That's why I think you can do that with the shape of the fingers and the patina that you can put on bronze, because bronze isn't always
Mhm.
dark brown, or it can be blonde or even green.
Mhm. And maybe even a watch, a
Oh,
ring.
jewelry.
Yeah, or
Thinking, yeah.
a
rings,
sleeve.
Yeah, so that,
Tattoos.
right. So there's,
Things you could buy at JJ Newberry's.
that's good.
Maybe the watch will even have a JJ New.
A price tag.
Yeah, a price tag.
Mara. sorry.
I do have an offbeat question. What's gonna happen to that JJ Newberry sign?
Yeah, good question.
Good
So
question.
we have in the new HDC packet, a representation of reusing of that sign. We provided 2 options for conversation at that meeting, to reutilize it.
In that area,
Consider it
in
for
that,
purposes of this committee, the art. It would
Right.
Be a tribute to what it is.
but I think her question is probably, would it be in that same area? No.
But it would be,
So there's an entrance where where the future One Congress meets the side of the Newberry, the parking lot of behind Rudy's.
Yeah.
That's the physical entrance to the housing project.
Okay.
So there's a,
Project,
what's that?
not a housing project, but a
Right.
housing development.
No,
yeah, the
That's why we
project.
bring her. I don't have it,
Yeah, no, I don't.
but there's a wall there, so there's that's an option. Right at the entrance,
Yep.
that's halfway up, the current.
So the other option I can get out here, so as Terrence said, this wall is going to be reduced in size, so there is one opportunity to place it along
I
this
think that's
wall.
cool. Yeah.
The
Mm.
other is
On that little
on the
wall, right?
far side of what is previously approved as One Market Square, we would affix it to that end of the building.
That's
between
cool.
JJ Newberry building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Nancy.
I have
Cool.
a question about general tomfoolery and safety. So
Yeah.
I'm a 6'4" frat boy who just left the Thirsty Moose. And I want to jump up and grab and see if I can climb this thing because it is 5'11". Can I?
Well, 5'11", you'd have.
I'm a 5 foot, that whatever my,
Well,
my 6'4", I'm strong. I'm a big guy.
It will be designed to support, like, I don't know if you've ever worked with Peter Happy before, but he says, well, whatever you do, it has to be able to stand like 3 drunk teenagers on it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
good.
That's just one of his
Yeah.
yeah,
taglines.
yeah.
That's your question, isn't it?
So we pulled it up high enough so you can just touch the finger, the bottom of the finger. Not, I think it's really hard to actually grab something.
Yeah, it feels like
that.
it's gonna be too wide.
Well, there's no footholds below that.
Yeah,
So footholds are hugely important when you climb anything.
Right.
So you'd have to be able to grab something like that and hoist yourself up.
oh,
so
hoist
that-
yourself up, yeah.
Or stand on somebody's shoulders.
Stand on somebody's
Yeah.
shoulders.
True.
But,
What Mark would say in this case is what he said to the city yesterday when we met about. We're pursuing trash, as Terrence said, in the High Hanover garage. We would hope that the anomaly of what could be isn't what the decision comes down to. If that was
Sure.
the case, similarly at 60 Penn Hollow, the bronze woven wall that we put in that Vivian Bear created. Painstakingly creating that, visiting her shop in Bow where she fabricated it. On day one, when it was installed, of course, the curiosity seekers climbed it. I was deathly afraid that we'd have a liability or something, and it was a novice. It was there, it was the young.
a novelty, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and it's now, people sit there,
Yeah.
they enjoy and look, so it does exactly what it's intended to do.
So I have a question just about where we are. I mean, is there the possibility of talking about the form and what can be done with it, or other ways of, I mean, not different, but I mean, like when Chris said, far be it from me to object to something being too abstract, I think that I really want it to be clear that it's hands. I think that that's the concept that's got to be loudly said, but I'm not convinced if doing it more naturalistically conveys that, because I look at that and I think that I don't know. I mean, this is really just my own aesthetic response, but I kind of want to see a little bit more open, like open form in it,
Mhm,
open space,
mhm.
negative space.
To lighten it up a little.
Like you
Mhm,
want negative space in the actual
mhm.
Yeah, maybe in the actual hand, I mean,
hands-on touching kind of
well, no,
negative space.
or maybe like, how your fingers are separated and there's, I don't know, I'm not an artist
Are
at
you
all,
saying-
but
So if you look at the second hand from the left, where those 3 fingers are,
yeah, let's say
you're
that,
thinking that there would be space between
yeah, maybe like
the fingers and the arm that
So
it's
the art,
touching?
the
Is
the
that-
arm would be arched or something.
yeah,
is
some
that-
way
is
of
that the
making,
kind of thing
yes,
you're
that's
talking
just what
about?
I'm talking about.
Okay.
I just have a question, since it's
I mean-
like a private, this is private art, do we really even?
Well, yes,
Okay.
because our recommendation goes to HDC, and if HDC will not have this kind of discussion, they will have we don't want it, or we don't like it, or go for it, or whatever. So our recommendation should fill in some of these details. It doesn't have to say yes, but it will say strengths and weaknesses, things that we
So
think.
getting
are
back to that point,
positive.
though, it's the reason that they're clasped is because when you help somebody up, you're clasping, you're really grabbing. So there's no room, you can't have like space between the fingers because there's no physical grip there. It's like you are grabbing someone's wrist and you are holding on. So that's the concept here. It's like, I am helping you do whatever you need to do. I'm not just touching your fingertips.
Yeah,
So that's
think
like.
I
want-
understand what people are saying, though. That's kind of, you see that from, because you're there from this conception. I think
Right.
people are gonna have different interpretations, right?
Right.
Because that's
Well,
what art is.
Correct. But there will be negative space and shadows between the fingertips and maybe someone's wrist. But the
Mhm.
intent is that it looks like this is, you're helping somebody, you're assisting somebody in achieving the life
Yeah, that's
shared
what,
experience that you're having with them.
that's what I think I was trying to get at before, because I think that's really important to understand why the grasping. Otherwise, helping hands would just be in a different
Oh,
way.
no, that's why it's also vertical. It's like, I'm pulling you up.
Yeah.
It's like that shared living experience. I'm pulling you up from, I mean, metaphorically from the bottom up.
Right, and so then the hands would all go up.
Well, it's going both ways, obviously, but it's to show that there has to be some physical strength and attachment between hands. Like it's everything's going in different directions, but the hands are clasped. So that's the unity between the people involved. So that's why there's the negative space is going to be in the shadows and fingers, not so much between the grip.
Would
So
it be possible to have an artist statement of some sort, or, I
Would
mean,
you-
I'm just thinking
Would
out
you
loud here.
typically do that, Terrence?
Oh, I always do that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, you want
But I mean,
that.
No,
you
not
have-
tonight. I meant,
No,
On
will there be a sign? Will there be a nameplate to say what the sculpture is and who did it and to
Have,
help
like,
get that across?
caption that says deciphering the art.
right,
Okay.
right, right.
So,
Right.
and there's a little,
right,
Just
Right.
like at the COD.
yeah, the.
Yeah, so
first
that'll help.
sculpture
Very
and,
nice
there's not one at the
description.
calculator, but,
Yeah.
It's not
So-
one at the calculator.
So, just to pause, do you want, before we kind of go through our criteria, do you want to present the other one as well, or do you want, what do people think? Should we? Because I think we should kind of try to coalesce around our criteria, the comments that we would make. And, and our comments are in our criteria, their site, their feasibility, their durability, that type of thing. Or do you want to do the other one as well? How do you want to do this?
You can do one at a time or
One at a time?
or it really depends on the group.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy going
Yeah.
either way.
Because I think I think you're getting the sense of what people.
Yeah, I think the idea of adding like identity, like bracelets or watches or a ring of, I think that humanizes the experience, but I don't think that's going to be the predominant feeling here. You're going to say, well, look at all the
Right.
jewelry on those stands. You're going to say, well, there's a
Yeah.
person with, maybe there's a tattoo or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
Yeah, that'd be
it's-
very cool.
It's not about hair follicles.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
maybe
sure,
there's a
yeah.
fold in the skin, but it's really about the pressure and the force of the grip and how you're helping somebody.
And
Yeah.
identity. I think that's an
Yeah, well-
important word here. Yeah,
No, keyword, because
yeah.
Mark has mentioned this before, because we were talking about other materials and was like, well, you could color all the hands different. So you could still patina things differently. And that's where the skin color matters, but it's all in like forever metal,
Yeah.
bronze, but bronze handles a lot of different patinas.
So this is just a crazy suggestion and you can flush it because it might not work at all, but I was trying to remember, once upon a time, I knew American Sign Language. I thought, what's the symbol for friendship or helping
well,
or?
friendship is this. Friendship.
Oh,
No, it doesn't sound like.
Well, the Lincoln
something.
statue does have sign language built into it in DC.
Oh, the hands of,
Yeah,
oh, he does?
yeah, it's like an L.
oh,
Pretty cool.
it's very cool.
Oh,
That's a really interesting idea.
Mhm.
So, Jen and Mara, why don't you take us through the criteria? I'll take notes so that and remember, we're making descriptive comments about the criteria that, based on our criteria that then go to HDC.
Okay, I will start with the site. And we just want to talk about the availability of an appropriate site and about the architectural, geographical, historical, and social, cultural context of the site and the immediate community, which will be considered, as well as the ways the public may interact with the artwork. So we just need to talk about that as far as the appropriateness of the site, because it really is on the building, which will be visible from Fleet Street. And then it also will be visible from High Street as well.
Not high,
I already have one.
Hanover, though.
Hanover,
Hanover.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hanover.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that Terrence's description of the concept, the way the concept relates to the use of the building, I think is really interesting, and it's different than what we have for other public art.
Correct.
For us, for the committee.
This
These are
is
for the
almost the
committee.
same thing, right? Yeah, they seem.
They're the same thing, yeah.
Did everybody else?
They're just two different,
Does
they're the
anybody
same thing.
else need?
Anybody need?
Criteria.
No, I'm good. I don't need to look at it.
They're good to have. Good.
The second one is about the accessibility. And I think it's pretty obvious that the accessibility to the maximum extent feasible for facility users, surrounding community members and those with special needs. I don't think that really falls. I don't think there's any accessibility issue there. I think the issue comes with the next one that you talked about, especially you, Nancy, about the safety and liability. So I think we just have to understand a little bit more about the public safety and liability issues and way to address these issues and concerns.
And that's probably related to attachment, which is how it's going to be attached, what
Right.
it will be, an approximate weight, and, you know,
Yeah.
in the engineering of it.
Right, so there has to go through an engineering review, but I don't think anybody on the design team has any qualms about saying, well, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
It'll have stamped drawings
Yeah.
from JSN, which is
Yeah.
the structural engineering company that we use.
So I think that one's pretty much solved on that one. And
On your point about accessibility, on the placard that describes the sculpture and says what it is it possible to have, a line or two of Braille?
Oh, certainly,
Yeah.
I have several. friends
Want the
that-
whole, I mean, that's down the
I
road,
mean-
of course, but, do you want the whole thing in Braille or,
Well,
the whole description and then repeating that in Braille?
well,
Or just the,
Braille typically is very condensed the way that us, and I mean, it's not word for word like a spelled out sentence. A family that has, a whole family that is blind and seeing them read in Braille and doing, I just thought that would
I
be.
think that's a
Be
great idea.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that more and more on signs of that type.
okay, the next one then, any other questions, any other points to make on that? The next one really concerns the traffic patterns, and it's how the artwork affects vehicular and pedestrian traffic patterns. I don't think there's an issue with where this really affects it patterns. Does anyone have any disagreement on that?
No, but I think it positively affects that. Terrence said something about, the extension of Commercial Way, which I love, Ali. And I think this really does draw attention to it in a very nice way. We might want to comment on that
Yeah.
in the memo.
End of one
Yeah.
to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great point then.
The current conditions, again, the existing artwork or any visual impediments within the proposed site vicinity and its relationship with existing artwork. That's why I really asked about the JJ Newberry sign, because I didn't see it there, so I was wondering if that was going to be up there. But do you have, anybody have any concerns about the current conditions?
No, but I
Well,
think
they
we
gotta
should
take
make
care
the
of it.
comment in that we like the idea that the JJ Newberry Sun would be relocated for that.
Correct.
Or did you say something about something, it might be something similar if it doesn't come off the building easily?
Nope, we're
Oh, you're gonna
proposing to replace or use what is there.
Oh,
and
perfect.
relocate it.
In a better, more appropriate place.
Right.
And
I
then
don't-
I,
Worry about the next, we don't have to worry about budget. It's not our,
Nope.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
and we don't have to worry about the schedule. It's really nothing that we have to worry about. The technical feasibility, we don't really have to worry about that, but that's going to be already taken care of.
But the maintenance we do, don't we, or not?
No, it's private.
No, it's private. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that, I don't think.
But I think we would want to comment, it's being made of a material that would require very little maintenance over time.
Correct.
returnable.
Probably zero.
Probably zero.
So I think that part is really kind of, I think, would we have any other questions on the site or feasibility before Mara takes over?
One thing I would say about this site, which is a function of public art, it's almost a wayfinding piece,
Yeah.
you know, because people will be able to say, I live in the building with the,
Or I'll
Hands.
meet you under the
Hands.
hand.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Another nice thing about the site is the Fleet Street redesign is coming very soon. And so it would be nice when we redo Fleet Street to be able to, the city can make sure we create marker space or
Yeah.
something.
I just thought about something. Is there a plan to have it lit at night?
Yeah.
Underneath.
Under,
Under the hands.
under the hands itself? Okay, I must have missed that. Thank
So the
you.
light spills out and creates like a silhouette at night on the, see how there's a.
Yeah.
You never did find that image?
I never did.
Okay,
It should be in that email.
so there's a, see how there's a shadow line there, so that would,
Right.
at night, that would be a light line. That would, the light would bleed out, kind of outline.
But there won't be anything
Isn't that funny?
on the
it was
building
the only
coming
people
down
that came
to
us had all
eliminate.
three of them.
Well, there's
eliminate-
actually soffit lights also
Yeah.
built under the top floor.
Ah.
That's
but-
these, those,
No, there's also some up here
Oh.
underneath the eave, so
Oh,
to
right.
speak, of the cornice.
Okay, so
The art is intended
That's
to
what
be
I was
almost
looking for.
self-illuminated.
Yeah, because I just
from,
forwarded that to you.
Similar to
get
what we
my
have at 3000
email?
Street,
Forwarded
the
about
hallways, where Tuscan Market, Toscana Chop House is, if you're
It
going
was
to
the
the
same
restaurants.
Yeah.
We have those.
Oh, yeah, those are nice.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, but not taken away from Terrence's art.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Cool.
It just kind of activates the lighting in the area a little bit, so it's not so dark.
Check
Well,
on the
so-
email. Yeah.
just so you know, where the buildings overlap. So if this is the parking garage and so where the buildings overlap, there'll be catenary lights. But you can't string a catenary
what
light
time of
because there's
flight
no building right over there by Gillies. So there'll be these down disc
Over-
lights.
That
starting at
that
the-
will be overhead of that.
Yeah.
No, not near this. It would be at the top of at the end of the.
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yes.
So so where the parking garage. Okay, so if this is Gillies here. And, the Newberry building's here and you're coming down Fleet and you see Gillies and this is the face of the parking lot and the alley comes up here. So the wall of the parking garage will begin the catenary lights that will march up to high and loud. But there'll be, I think that's, I don't know, 50 feet where there'll be just wall sconces until
Okay,
you get to the catenary lights.
I see. But you'll be able to see up to
Yeah, you
them.
need.
Oh, you'll be
Yeah.
able to see up to the, correct.
Yeah.
I just have another odd question on the schedule. What's the proposed opening date for this right now?
Opening date.
Wow.
So
I know that's hard.
mentioned earlier, we are just in the approval process now. So if the One Market Square approval process is any indication, we will probably be going through plan review, et cetera, for the next 5 to 6 months at minimum. And then it will take our design team another 5 or 6 months to detail all of the architectural engineering, construction drawings to go out to prospective general contractors. So at best, if all the stars were to align, probably 18 months to commence construction, and it would probably be a 2-year project.
Yeah.
So
But that
Yeah,
is,
right.
again, if all the stars were to align, and I think at this point, we are focusing on the approvals for this and potentially proceeding to construction of what is already approved in the next year or so.
Okay.
So the construction of the actual bronze work is 9 to 12 months from start to go, because
Yeah.
they have to do a maquette, everybody has to approve the details, and then it goes into the big stuff, and then, so that's a slow process as well.
Okay, so we're talking maybe 2027, 2028.
28.
28, maybe 2027, but I, again, meeting with the
27,
city
26.
yesterday, Department of Public Works and everything, they're also thinking that the Fleet Street project is probably out that far.
Yeah. So all this will happen.
We're all working together to achieve the best synergies and
Good. All right.
Okay, so I guess the next step is to discuss the aesthetic aspects of the work. So the aesthetic elements, shape, line, form, color, texture should function to create a cohesive whole. Um, Does anyone have anything to say about that?
I think we've had a lot of discussion about that already.
Yeah.
And for Chris, we want to say that how to write it up.
Well, I think important to all of us, it seemed, is some variety in it. The patina you mentioned, the texture, the variation in hand type, the ability of people to look at this and not see it. The ability of people to actually look at it and see the differences and think about the variety that's there, I think seems really important to this discussion.
And I think that's important to Mark McNabb as well. So that's the intent. It's
Yeah.
just that it's
Yeah.
not always evident in the drawing for.
Can I ask a question about variety? Not only skin color, but size of hands?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
size, age,
Okay,
Yeah.
Gender.
so so
Size,
variety
age.
encompasses a
Dependent.
whole bunch of things.
everything you
Okay.
can imagine, size,
Right.
age, gender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's the intent.
It's hard to tell from the.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
sure.
agree with you completely on that count, and the intent is to do all of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that relates to that will make it more coherent. That will really raise the coherence of what this is.
So that's where, for me to hear this is really important, because I'm the guy that's gonna interact with the actual sculptor
Yeah.
molding the clay, so I have to convey these things to.
Yeah.
Enforce.
And I guess the reason why I brought up the point that I brought up before is that I think that you're talking about one from many. And that's what a lot of the things that people have said about wanting, the different skin color, the little signs, different like age or size of
Yeah.
hands. And I think that, when I first saw that, which I could never get back on my screen, but when I first to print it out, but when I first saw it, it looked very monolithic. And I think that that's what you don't, I mean, it is monolithic in that it's a unit, but that's why I
Well, you can see that there's different colors in there, so
yeah.
I tried to do that with the.
But you were going to work on it much more.
Yeah.
Much more. And I just consider a little bit more negative space to show that they're
Well,
different
the
hands.
negative space is really important for shadows.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
that too, visually.
Right.
But I think it will, I don't know, whatever.
No, I hear you, and I will take that into
Think
consideration.
about it. All right, so imagination and innovation in the design, any other things we want to say to help Chris with this, or?
Well, I think the
To
things
help
like the
us.
sign language possibility, there's some interesting ideas here to add more value,
Yep.
Symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see if it was sign like possible, something that was in sign language that,
Oh, I think that's a given, right?
and, Braille on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in our heads, we always said, yes, we can
Yeah.
do that.
And we talked about, different ages of hands, but maybe even like a child's size hands, right? Because these apartments they could have children in them, right?
Could be.
Oh, my God.
Children, yeah. Yeah, so the intent is to show as many ages and a diversity of ages as possible.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, I mean, that's what coherence, separate elements express strong ideas with
Mhm.
clarity, consistency, communicating the works proposed.
Mhm.
On purpose,
I think we're pretty clear. about
use of
that.
materials, innovative, mixed materials. Well, okay, we're using a really traditional material because it's so versatile for this
And
particular
beautiful. Yeah.
purpose.
And beautiful. The other thing I was thinking, the other bronze statues are at the head of the African burying ground. So the other major bronze I think we have in,
Well, there's one in Kittery Point,
Oh,
which
that's a
is
wonderful.
absolutely gorgeous. So to be able to have some major bronze pieces is wonderful.
Expressiveness, they're appropriate for the purpose.
Definitely.
I mean, but we do want, I mean, and it's interesting here that we say that it should express it without unnecessary explanation,
Mhm.
but of course we want some necessary
Yeah,
explanation
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Context, compatible scale, material, form, content with surroundings, relates to functions within its environment,
Mhm.
establishes focal points, modifies, enhances, defines specific spaces, establish identity or addresses specific issues of civic design, no barriers.
It felt large to me, but I hear what you're saying. It's a big building. It's going to be seen from a distance. I don't know if you've had any thoughts about size and scale. Obviously, you wanted it to be large.
well, I think, normally when I mean, it's, if you look at that wall, oh, there it is. If you look at that wall face as the blank canvas, you can't see the top. Yeah, so there's breadth around the whole thing.
Yes,
Like a frame.
It's not
Yes.
gonna look that big.
it's framed.
so
Yeah,
It's framed.
yeah.
If it came up too high, and if it was too wide, then I'd say, yeah, there's a problem, but this has been played with a little bit, so it's far enough off the ground and far enough off the bottom of the fascia there so I think there's enough breadth of brick around the bronze sculpture to make it look like it's framed really well.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, against the volume size of the High Hanover, which is next door, I think it's not going to appear as large, because that's the perspective where you're gonna see it first from Fleet.
Mm.
Like, you're gonna be standing next to the High Hanover.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah, or
agree
down
with
the
Kate. It
street.
stands up to the bigness of the surrounding aspect.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
the scale is even
and the building
striking.
itself, which is a
Right.
big building.
And without something like that, the wall would be very boring.
Yeah, I think the scale is a
It's
benefit.
appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Um, okay, and historical accuracy.
If appropriate. I mean, if it is.
But
It's
it
not
expresses the
attempting to-
concept of the building, so that it may not be historical accuracy, but it's accuracy of intent
Mhm.
for its placement.
It's got a feeling of the 30. I'm thinking of the Newbury's. It's got a
Yeah.
feeling of like the Diego Rivera mural style, the
Right.
WPA
does.
style.
Does.
And, I don't know if that has any reference to what the building was used for at that time.
Not that I know of, but to me, it's in my mind, it's about the human connectedness
Yeah.
of the building as it relates to the WPA stuff, but
Yeah.
it's handwork. I mean, the labor. I mean, the historical context would be like, well, it honors people handcrafting things, whether you're in the field with a shovel or you're with a chisel in a wood shop.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, that's
aspect that I
that's
think-
nice, because that hasn't come up yet. That's another element.
Yeah,
of it.
right.
But they're safe. I mean, it's very good that they want to save the Newbury sign because I think that's also thinking about historical accuracy or appropriateness.
Yeah,
or-
so the third,
Yeah,
no?
the third one, oh, okay.
Well, you mentioned the third piece in the agenda which will come there's another meeting. for that
Another
third piece,
meeting.
but that'll make more reference to people at the site.
whenever I think of anything that's in this general space, you're so close to that north end that was
Mhm.
lost.
Stride.
Yeah.
And this idea of lifting each other up in hands
Yeah.
right next to that space that
Interesting.
was
Yeah,
lost.
yeah.
That's good.
And there is
Great.
a sculpture that's coming up soon to honor the North End, so we're gonna have a really active North End area. It's
Right.
like-
Family.
Yeah, good.
So, okay, so then the next part, the last part, is the artist's experience in history. So, I mean, okay, relevant experience, convincing evidence of ability to successfully complete a project as demonstrated by previously executed and installed works.
Check.
Check.
Good. Diversity, well,
That's not really up.
that's not to
Right.
up to us, right? But we're representing diversity.
Yes,
We are.
yeah.
So that's a choice that's been made. That's installation experience. The artist should have successful track record of construction, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, check.
Check.
And fabrication and installation schedules, the artist proposal include project timeline,
Yes,
design reviews. I don't think we have to
we
worry
don't have to
about
worry
that,
about that.
correct?
That's not our
That's
problem.
not our
Right.
province.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So, Terrence knows what we'll do, but Marie, what we do is kind of write up this discussion to the criteria. We'll review it and then we'll provide it to you and to Sean will provide it to the HDC. So you have another one. But it's 6:30.
Yeah.
Do you think we could do this in like 15-20 minutes?
This one is
Pretty
quicker, I
straightforward.
think, but, Sean, do you have?
Is it on the same email?
Yes, yeah, it's right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's right,
Well,
it's
the-
another slide on
today's
that same
email
email.
has to- Well, today's email would be better on this, because it had both the image and the site. And I sent you site pictures this morning, because I didn't include that in the first email. This site picture of
Oh, yes, I have
that
that.
alleyway.
I have that. On the phone.
So people could do like another 15-20 minutes. Okay. While we're waiting, Beth, maybe we'll wait till
Oh, yeah.
next time, or do you want to?
Can I just throw it out there?
Throw it out
Yeah,
there.
so I've been working on the inventory. I talked about it last meeting. I'm gonna ask Sean to send out the latest version of it. And I have a sort of a hard copy. People could just sign up for pieces that they wanted to research, but basically don't respond to everyone, but just respond directly to me if you see a couple pieces that you want to research. And you can see the framework that's in place for that. You don't have to put it in any document. It's going to be a PDF, so you wouldn't be able to anyway. But just send me an email with the content and then I'll continue to weave it into this ongoing inventory.
And remember the framework Beth shared with us last time
Oh.
is fairly succinct.
Yep,
So it's not like we're writing pages,
no,
we're writing a
a
paragraph.
description, the material used, artist information, sponsor information if applicable, directions and installation date.
So you want us to go look for art that's out there?
No,
or
I,
No.
maybe you weren't on at the last meeting. No, I put together a inventory of 50 different
Oh,
pieces of art with photographs.
I don't have copies.
Nope, Sean is gonna
Sean
send
is
it
gonna
out
send it.
because it's been updated since last month as well. And then I will coordinate if someone says, oh, I want to work on these 3 pieces. I'll just write back to you and say, someone else has signed up for that, pick a couple more.
Yeah,
And this will evolve over time.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're chipping away at this so that we fill in our information about all the public art that is around.
Yeah. And Nancy made a good point. There's a lot out there already on Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to explore there,
Yeah.
that's a good source as well.
And just a heads up, if you didn't know, there's a new mural over off of
Yes,
Bridge.
Sean sent that. I took pictures of it and added it. Yeah,
Yes, and
Sean.
that
near the
is
garage.
for further
Near the
discussion.
garage, but off the bridge.
Right.
So, yeah,
It's at
so
the back of the
it's-
Last Chance Garage. You have to,
Beautiful.
you have to really work to see it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Terrence, back to you.
Okay, so that's what, our project site, there's we call this the South Alley for lack of a better term. It goes up to the way inboard to the back of, the Newberry building and it serves, there's a bunch of, trash can receptacles, this corner the 155 there, so we're looking at the building, the other side of the Gillies. And this sculpture is kind of the opposite of what we just went through. But
Wait a minute, other side of the Gillies?
that's the south alley,
Yeah,
that's the Gillies wall, but the other side of
Right.
this very building is. That
Okay.
picture- That picture,
Opposite side, okay,
yeah, it's toward Congress.
got it.
So there's gonna be a retail unit that's gonna be punctuated into that wall face there beyond those conduits. Those conduits are coming out.
Right there.
So that wall face has this other sculpture. So this other sculpture is opposite in its
Right.
material and stuff. And that it's a light beacon, and it does three things. It's a light beacon for that really narrow, dark alley, and that this alley will also have the disc catenary lights, and because there's building face, it'll be illuminated. So it operates as a beacon to introduce this alleyway to the public, so people know that it's a good place to go down, and it's gonna inspire curiosity for people to walk down to that alley. But it also makes reference to the paving pattern on
Yeah.
Newberry, so
Okay,
it sits here, the Newberry Alley is over here, so the sculpture here makes reference to that serpentine paving pattern that goes from Fleet all the way over to the last. So this sculpture is serpentine sculpture because it's referencing something else on site. But it also, in my mind, it's abstract in that, Sean, could you put up the?
And it's made out of glass?
I have that.
It's
They-
probably.
it was in the same
it's a-
email
it's a
as
metal
the
frame,
other one.
colored
yeah.
glass in there.
Oh, wow.
So
It's on that same email with the last
That
picture.
Ernie
Yeah.
sent.
Yeah.
it's also on today's email.
Terrence, can I ask, when you talk about this, when you talk about the serpentine pattern, is that something that's there, or is that just part
Something
of,
that we're proposing.
that's the
been-
proposal?
Yeah, so it's basically, they take the concept of a labyrinth which was designed to scare off monsters in the Greek era, and then it's evolved into, the pilgrimage labyrinth. And then the meaningfulness and the wellness labyrinth. So originally the site behind Rudy's was going to be a wellness center, but so I had decided to take that concept and turn it into a linear exercise as opposed to
Mhm.
an
And
eccentric
the
exercise.
pattern would be in colored stone. There are colored pavers or,
The pattern is gonna be poured concrete that's
oh, poured
colored.
concrete, okay.
So you're gonna frame it, so there's gonna be a body, a neutral body, and then the
Okay,
colorful texture and pattern that is kind of a mindfulness
Okay.
exercise. So
And that's going to take up the entire alley? No.
it's gonna take up the entire space from the Fleet to the intersection of High Street.
oh, Fleet to High.
Oh, no,
No.
so that's that varies between 21 and 9 feet 8 inches. So it's really a 10-foot swath of poured pavement with some porous elements on the edges that will consist of porous concrete or green space with some trees. But that swath that goes from Fleet to High is approximately 10 feet wide. And the ribbon, if you want to call it.
Yeah,
the
ribbon.
Ribbon is going to vary from, inches wide to feet wide. It'll have fat spots. So, a kid would run around and jump around from this point, and you could, it's about watching where your feet land
Yeah,
and animating the surface of the ground plane that you're walking on instead of just like.
yeah. So if I walked down it, I'll come to see this and know that I've been walking down something like this.
Not this.
This is on the opposite side. So that alleyway is here. And this.
Another alleyway.
This
It's a
is the building.
small alley.
Oh, so if
They're about the same width. That's
Oh,
not-
I was
okay.
about to say,
Maybe
so
just
if these
because
brown
it's
spaces are the
separate.
alleys, this is the Gilly parking lot. This is the Newberry building.
Okay, that's over
So
here.
this corner here is where that is, and the hands are on the opposite corner. So the serpentine,
Serpentine
the
on the
ribbon
ground.
goes all the way
Big
through
alley.
here.
Yeah,
But in this sculpture makes reference to that ribbon, further give you that kind of beacon of a landmark. It's like, oh, here I am, I'm on this corner. but it also illuminates the alley. But abstractly, I mean, to me, that's a question mark and a human figure. So it calls into the, ask the, the existential question about existence, but that's, I mean, it's really intended to be the bright beacon from when you turn the corner of Congress and you go that way, whereas the hands represent what's going on in the building.
Mhm.
This represents what's going on in the bottom of the hands. So they're kind of self-referential. So this is kind of an opposite play on the hands, but it makes reference to the serpentine ribbon that goes from Fleet to High Street. So it's done with, color palette. And it's just metal and plexiglass and lights really. So and it's really lightweight. It'll be off the ground. Well, you can still touch it, right? There it is. You can still touch it, but.
So it's,
So that is on that kind of blind, you can see, I mean, this is a little alleyway that we all probably pass and never look down.
never look up.
I
Never,
know.
never.
I mean, but this is gonna call your attention to that, and there'll be a retail unit right it just past that, in that corner there. Similar
In
to
the
one-
alley,
What's that?
up
In
the
the
alley.
Up the alley.
To bring people.
Up the alley. So this is designed to call the attention to that
Yeah.
corner, make reference to all the work on Newbury and the Newbury building. And to call attention to that, it's an active alley in Portsmouth from.
Whereas it
Mark-
hasn't been.
Where it hasn't been. Mark is resurrecting this alley and turning it into a human space instead of a receptacle for
Mhm.
trash.
Right, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Anything that is done here is an improvement from
Right.
what
Yeah.
it currently is, which is really a trash zone.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a forgettable space.
I wonder if there are some ways by color to also connect it to the Newbury, if this was like red and yellow, like the Newbury sign or something.
Oh, so that, I'm completely open to suggestions.
So to ways to, I'm just trying to,
Right, the yellow and red.
I'm trying to connect it in a little bit more.
Completely open or not.
I don't know if
Yeah.
other people see ways to connect
So I
it
think
in.
the HDC ironically, was preferring sea colors as opposed
Oh.
to the red
Oh,
for whatever.
And we want to please the HTC.
Well, no, we don't have to.
We don't.
No, I mean, we don't have to
For a
please the
reason.
HDC. They have to please the
They have to
HDC.
please,
We can say whatever we want to.
It's
So I just have a couple of questions. Is this going to be backlit so they're going to be lit behind, so it's going to be glowing in some ways?
no, that's not the intent. The intent is to have colored glass or plexiglass and then have lights on that, but not from.
Not from within, okay. What's this the one thing that it looks like this, especially it's 3 feet off the ground. This just looks like somebody's gonna want to put graffiti on it. It's begging to me to put graffiti on it. Is that something that, am I just the lone wolf in this one?
Well, the wall doesn't have graffiti, has never had graffiti on it to my knowledge. I don't.
Oh, but this is just begging it.
We know who
Oh,
to come
hey.
after then.
I think the alley is gonna be so activated, not only the retail spaces that Terrence mentioned are gonna be cut in. There's also going to be along the upper levels, there's gonna be residences with patios, so it's gonna be more illuminated. It's not going to be an alley, it's gonna be much more activated.
Yeah, I don't think we have a particular problem with graffiti. I mean,
We haven't lately,
Have a
Haven't
small
lately.
problem. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's a
Not-
big problem.
Yeah.
But
but is it, I think it's a material that's easily cleaned. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes,
Well,
plexiglass, colored
painted.
plexiglass, it's easily.
yeah, that's the typical answer to the graffiti nowadays. Make it easy to clean. Yeah. Other questions about this?
So the plexiglass has a metal frame around the edges, is that?
Right. I'm not sure if that's aluminum or steel at this point. But that's to secure the plexiglass, so
Yeah,
then it'll be mounted. This is the easy mount
yeah.
to the wall. So opposed to the hands.
I'm not quite clear. Is it on the front facing wall or when you turn the corner?
No, it's
in the corner.
It's on the, see the conduits there?
Okay, all right.
So it's on the alley, so it's
It's on
it's
the
actually
alley
in the
side.
alley.
In the alley, yeah,
Past the
Yeah,
conduit.
that's what makes
Yeah.
me think
Well, the
that-
conduits won't be there.
It's 2 feet
okay.
Yeah.
from the edge of the. So visible from Congress.
Yeah,
yeah,
right. It's only 2 feet from that corner, so it's probably right where that second conduit is.
yeah.
So all those conduits go away and it's right there. So it's in.
That's great.
it's
It
a-
does activate a spot that, like you said, like nobody notices that space.
It's a dead.
And
Maybe
that's-
some people do, but not for a good
Oh, I know, I've walked
reason.
by it for a long time. That's why it's colorful, that's why it's glass, that's why it's gonna be lit with other
Yeah.
lights. So it's designed to animate a dead end.
Yeah.
How durable is plexiglass in the winter? You know, I mean, does it contract, freeze? Does it survive snow and crap like that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a concern with that.
Yeah, this will be fabricated by the same company that did the arch,
Okay,
Uh-huh.
Chestnut Street Arch, so you know, if they build it, it's
all right.
built for the ages.
I'm thinking about that space where the mural went up by the running store and next to
Yeah.
the music hall, that space, I don't think anyone ever noticed it before. And
Oh,
you know,
right.
there's this
Yeah.
mural,
Right.
the kind of a similar.
Yeah,
activation.
a similar activation. I think that's the wayfinding, the activation of this, I think is a really important
Yeah.
point about the site. And I guess my only, and you know, I have no problem with the design or whatever. I think it's really hard to make the conceptual link to the other labyrinth, you know, to the other design. I don't know if we have to. That may be a stretch that is harder to explain and
Is it the same design? Is this, Terrence? What you would
No,
see?
no, it's the same kind of design elements, but it's just not the same design. There's
Yeah.
not this replication of
Yeah.
that pattern. But there are those kind of flowing curves and
Yeah.
spots that are disconnected that you have to step to. And there is, in the end of it, there is a swirl. So there are those elements, but it's not a
Yeah.
replication.
I mean, if it was in the same place, you could. People might get it, but they don't have to get it.
They don't have to get it, and if they don't, that's fine with me, because this has its own.
Yeah,
Its own.
this
kind of,
is, I don't want to say, this is more like a sign.
It's more like a sign.
Well,
It's
you
a
know what I mean?
signifier.
It's functioning as a sign. It's
Right.
function,
No, I don't see that at all,
Well-
actually. But-
it's functioning as you said beacon. It's functioning as a
Well,
beacon.
it's bright colored glass and it's gonna have lights on it, so it's gonna be a
Yeah.
light source in a dark night. That will be a beacon, but
Right.
it's not a sign for anything that's happening.
No, I understand that. Yeah,
It
I
just
understand that.
makes reference to something.
it's a
that's-
signifier.
It's a
Well, there's the
signifier.
ground plane
It's
with
a
the,
signifier.
there's a ground plane with the ribbon, and then there's a vertical plane with the ribbon over here. So they're actually having a conversation
Yeah.
with each other, but they're not. Yeah, that's it. They're having a conversation.
With the building in
Yeah.
between.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's a signifier that it's okay
Right.
of what's
It's
going
okay.
to come up. And and it's okay to take that step down
Yeah.
that path.
Yeah.
Both sides.
it's a signifier of
Just
safety.
don't
No
use the
sign.
word sign.
Not
And
some-
but also of interest.
Sign's a bad word,
Yeah,
but it's not, it's not in the ground on in that
No.
alley too.
no,
We're not mimicking.
yeah.
What is on the ground in that alley?
It's gonna be,
Now?
that's,
Well, that's
No,
good.
what's the proposal?
It's gonna be, it's because of the requirement that the town has for over 51% porous surface. It's gonna be a porous paver with it, probably porous concrete. But it's gonna absorb the stormwater and bring it into the ground plane. So it's gonna be a porous material. So we haven't decided whether it's the porous concrete that's similar to the porous concrete in Newbury Way, or is it gonna be a porous concrete block brick with gaps that. allow-
But I think Jen's question is interesting. There is the potential
To do, right,
to have a sense of
a
what
design.
design, that would be great.
yeah.
Even a little sense of it. Even a coloration sense of it.
I think that personally, I wasn't prepared for that question, but my original response is that would be more work, it would be replicating something that's meant to be seen in and of itself with a more neutral surface, as opposed to replicating that on the ground right next to it. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of replicating the labyrinth design, not that design.
the ribbon on the other.
A
alley,
little
yeah.
sense of ribbon, a little tail of ribbon, a little sense of ribbon. If you want people to,
Yeah, so it's not a connected space.
right. So I wouldn't,
It's kind of the reason why the ribbon has resonance in my mind is that it's a flow through space.
Yeah, that was all in concept with the continuation of Commercial Alley and connecting from
Mhm.
McIntyre all the way to the Bond Mall. That was a visual that we were able to do in the former plan when we had to keep the elevation of the Haven Court. Thankfully, we're able to, in this acquisition, remove all of that and connect it even
Mhm.
better for handicap accessibility and all of that. But I think the purview of this committee is the art, and we're not going
Right.
to
right. We're just trying to strengthen the connection.
Right.
Yeah, so quickly, I would say this is a dead end space. That's not a dead end space, and we
Right.
don't want to suggest that it's a through space by having
Yeah.
a ribbon.
But as you know, a labyrinth is not a ribbon anyway, it's a circle. So, you could, I mean, and we certainly, you're right, it's not our purview, but if you wanted to make a stronger connection in the,
I'm sure we will have that discussion in our team design meetings as to whether that concept is appropriate on the ground plane here.
Yeah.
So that I
you can take it if you want to.
no, that's
Yeah.
probably gonna happen tomorrow, because that's gonna happen.
How about a hopscotch?
Yeah, we're at time, so, I think, Jen and Mara, are there any things you think we haven't talked about related to this, to our criteria?
To the
I think
second
we've-
one.
I think we've covered a number of the criteria points.
I think we've covered the bulk of it and the ones that we have questions on.
So maybe can we talk about that second one at the next meeting, or is that?
Well, no, they need.
They need it now?
Well, they'll need a write-up.
Right now.
Yeah, so when you say this,
I'm talking about that.
right, I know, but as Jen said, I think we've covered a lot of our
did.
criteria points in discussion. Is there anything left that we need to talk about? Because I think we can describe our discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
Preferences that we have for it, questions that have been answered.
Well, if you're writing it up, then I know I would be happy, and perhaps.
And
to
everybody
look
will
it
have a
up,
chance to look at it. So we-
think of what maybe
yeah,
was. Because we obviously spent more time on the first.
right,
one
which is
discussed.
appropriate. I think it's a
So
much
to
bigger
understand
piece of
correctly,
piece.
so you'll continue to evolve that document beyond the conversations tonight?
We will
No.
document it. And so we will, as people review the document, just to make sure we've captured the sensibility of what came up tonight
Before sending it to you.
before sending it to you.
Editing.
Yeah, I mean, to just make sure that we're clear and we're all clear on what we said tonight, we'll have it in writing
But you'll get the final document.
and send
We
to
won't-
you.
But I don't want something to show up in the document that hasn't been said here tonight. That's what I'm concerned. with.
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And that's partly why everybody needs to look at it, to make sure that we are capturing it correctly. And so we should say, is there anything else you guys want to share with us about these that we haven't picked out or talked about?
I'd just like to state that, in understanding that art is in the eye of the beholder, for sure. This is a significant expense and contribution that, I do not know of too many real estate developers that would undertake this endeavor to this degree. So I would like that to hopefully play into your consideration for, engaging the most talented, to do what we have here to present to you as part of the team. it's Terrence presented a number of other options, and these were the ones that spoke most to what we are trying to create in the development
That's
for
helpful.
today and tomorrow and into the future. So
Mhm.
it's not, just a snip back at what was, but what will be. And I think that's really important. And I never realized how important art is, seriously, until everything that happened with 60 Penn Hollow and Brick Market. And,
Mhm.
it just does engage people. The stars and stripes that we have in the lobby that, oh God, I'm drawing a blank, the gentleman that does the stonework in Kittery, just.
Thomas
really-
Berger.
Yes, it
Yeah.
just really, really engages the young, the old, everyone in between. They want to touch, they want to feel, they want to see, what does it mean? So excited and hope that you all will support favorably. Thank you.
And so our role is to really be to be as descriptive as possible to the criteria. You're right, Marie, the Times just had a recent piece on the majority of public artwork now happening is by private developers, because they're realizing something like 60% of the work that's being funded now, because they're realizing it attracts people to their building. It makes, people enjoy it, whether it's residential or, traditional commercial. So. Good. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So we'll shoot for, I'll shoot for Friday, and then if people can get it back, because you are on, that still gives us a week before you go to HDC.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Good, thank you both.
Thank
Yeah,
you. both.
thank you.
This is my outline of, my end of the conversation.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you,
Terrence.
Terrence.
All helpful.
So, next meeting, we'll go back to look at the financial criteria. Remember, we looked at them last time just to kind of approve them as policy for how we want to spend money. Maybe even more important now that we're going to have more money to spend.
Yes.
Middle school people will be ready to come back to us with just some preliminary thoughts. The LGBTQ, and I want to just have you think about this. The Sarah Haskell piece that's in it. We've been asked to consider where it might be relocated.
Where is that?
It's the Sarah Haskell piece that's in the Kent Chambers. And we've been asked to consider where it might be relocated. So as you're in public buildings around town, think about it. And we'll put it on one of our next meetings to consider.
It's an interesting way.
Yeah. But I think, so November,
The post
It's
office
interesting.
is so far away
Oh.
and so little.
Senior center.
well, there's a lot of possibilities. So, yeah, so we'll bring them to the table and consider it. November 20 is the next meeting, but
Yeah.
tomorrow most of
Each
us.
other.
I'll see a lot
Be
of
there.
Socially.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I think we're all set.
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Sorry, who did it?
Mara?
Bar.
Mara, and who seconded?
I can second.
Okay. I will reflect.
Jen, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. This was planned long before we changed the dates.
Great. Thank you.
But I will see you next time in person.
Call.
Bye-bye.